Hey guys, it's your buddy Dave here. Once again, I forgot to mention the episode here in the podcast. This is 3gunshow.com/307, episode 307. And you're not going to believe this, or maybe you will. I forgot to talk to Lan about how you get lead poisoning or how you get lead exposure. We kind of implied it all throughout, but we never covered that main topic. So exposure to lead, which is the topic of this podcast, can occur, I'm reading this, can occur by contaminated air, water, dust, food, or consumer products. So basically, it gets inside you. The lead gets inside you. So we give the example of it being on your hands when you're sharing food. So the obvious thing is like you ingest that orally. It can permeate through your skin. You can breathe it in. All kinds of good stuff. So, sorry, felt I had to cover that one. Maybe you need to get a lead poisoning test. It does affect your memory. Welcome, everybody, to the Three Gun Show. I'm your host, Dave Hartman. Got a special guest with me today, and it's our buddy Nguyen from Dissident Arms. Lan, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be back.
Dude, it's great to have you. It's been a while since you've been on the show, so I'm happy to have you here. And we've got a little catching up to do, and then we have a very important topic for the audience to listen to, which is all about lead exposure.
Yeah, we sure do. It's good to hear your voice again, and it's a topic that people don't really pay that much attention to and kind of overlook. But I mean, it's something that's really important, especially to somebody, a lot of us competitive shooters.
Yes, and I think for like a number of reasons, right? Because first of all, like we want to all shoot as much as we possibly can, which shooting more increases your lead exposure. And then we want to shoot for as long as we can, which shooting longer increases your lead exposure. And I think most of us want to do this for a long time. So kind of ends up being some competing interests there.
It is, and also the types of targets we like to shoot. I mean, people don't think about resetting steel or going to falling steel matches and stuff like that. But they all lead into the lead exposure that bombards us, I guess you would say.
Yeah, and so we're going to talk about that in depth here. We're going to talk about your experience with lead exposure. You did have an incident a few years ago. And so I think that is that's why you're on the podcast here, is because you do have personal experience with it, and you can help people with that personal experience. But first, Lan, what have you been up to, man? There's been a lot of noise in the AK world going on, and you guys seem to be right at the center of it.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you asking. It's been a kind of a crazy couple of years, I guess, since we really sat down and actually chatted. So. The growth of the AK, domestic AK industry is just, it's really, it's boomed. And I think even the last time we talked, we were kind of mentioning like the renaissance of the US or the American AK market. And so, with all the domestic, we have domestic manufacturers, actually putting out quality firearms, and then, a lot of aftermarket support for these firearms. And so, it's kind of been like, you remember when you built your first AR and then you were able to actually accessorize it, and it was kind of like, an erector set for firearms, right? So you can add more parts and stuff like that. Well, the AK market actually just experienced that. And so, that with the occurrence of that, there's been a growth in AK-centric events. And so, it's been really, really cool to see, and we're really happy to be involved with it.
Not only involved with it, but like on the leading edge of the spear, basically, right? You guys run the competition side of Clash Bash, which is a event in Texas that you've had. What is this? 3 years now, I believe.
Yep, this is our third year, so we were able to have. We do run the Clash Bash side, or the competition side of Clash Bash, and it's grown every year. We've been fortunate to have awesome support from vendors and just the AK community in general. I mean, I think this past year we were able to have over 700 people on the range, over 200. It was about 238 competitors when it was all said and done. And I mean, I don't know, it was just a great time. There were bonfires, camping, vendors had demos, and I mean, yeah, we had three gun carnival event, so we kind of were able to expose a lot of the shooters that weren't involved in the competition to competitive shooting, if you will. We gave away a lot of firearms. I mean, IWI was there, Vortex was there, Kalashnikov USA was the title sponsor. I mean, it was a really special event. I mean, I'm really proud to be part of it.
That's really cool. So you talk about the 3-gun experience. What was that like?
So we had 3 different, I guess you would call them carnival stages, and the shotgun stage was sponsored by Kalashnikov USA, and basically was a plate rack and a spinner. And so the fastest time, just like a carnival, game, the fastest time won. They actually won the shotgun, and so you go to the IWI sponsored rifle stage, and there was plate rack and 2 BCs out there at about 50 yards, and so it was. Oh, and I'm sorry, the PCC, or the pistol side, was sponsored by Century Arms, and so they put a AP5, which is their MP5 clone, out there, and it was, it enabled us to get the products into, I don't know, over 300 shooters' hands that weren't involved with the competition, and it was a great spotlight and feature for manufacturers to get involved, and I don't know, it was something fresh and something new that you typically don't see at a 3-gun event. And that was what's really special about Kalash Bash, is the vendor involvement and the ability for us to get that many people in front of the vendors. And I mean, we have captive time. So there was 30-minute periods in which we went cold, and we went to specific vendors to feature their products. And so, I mean, it's something different and something, I think something special that we've been able to develop and grow with the guys over at, Clay Owens with Clayco 47 and Tony Hetty with Kyber Customs. And so, it's hard to describe, man. It really is.
Yeah, so I got to go to the first year, and it's definitely something to experience. 700 some people on the range. That's absolutely incredible. Do you see anything in that, I guess, that genre or that field that we can bring into other competitions and improve that arena?
I think the vendor involvement in getting people into and in front of the vendors is really really important, and really one of the big draws of our event. We kind of basically pattern it off of the old DPMS events. Do you remember hearing about those? There were like 1,200 people going to 3-gun competitions. And then like the old Pro-Am events where there were like 600 to 700 people there at Rock Castle.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ways to do it. It's just, whenever it's a difficult balance between getting the stages and the schedule done and the squad matrices done and getting them in front of vendors. But, it's a balance that I think is worth exploring. Even if it comes to, like, I guess making less stages or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a different show. I don't want to get too deep into that, I guess.
Yeah, no problem. I'll just say that I think like 3 years ago, maybe, I was speaking with Randy Luth at SHOT Show, and him and Mark Roth were telling me all about the DPMS old days and everything. And it's interesting that you bring them up, because one of the things that he said is, like, it was right during like that zombie craze, and there was people coming to the matches like fully dressed up in like their apocalypse gear with gas masks and stuff like that, and people had I don't know what he described, like steampunk type outfits and things like that. Just a lot of zombie theme type stuff. And the AK market, the, you know, Kalash Bash and Red October of the years that I've went, have a lot of people dressing in like period correct for their firearm, or a lot of tracksuits, of course, and things like that. So it's interesting, those two parallels between those two matches.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it's just, you know, it just gives somebody, or, you know, I guess anybody that's interested in the AK, a place to come out and just kind of be themselves, if you will. And so, you know, it's kind of funny. It's like, it's the melding of the competition side and the, I guess, tactical, like you said, period correct kind of people. Because AK people are very, well, they're very precise in what magazine you have with what gun and what kit and stuff like that. And if you have the wrong one, then you'll get called out quickly on it.
Yeah. And it goes down to like the mag carriers and the what's it called, sling that you have, freaking everything. It's crazy. Like I don't know anything about that stuff. So it was like really eye opening to see how, like the breadth of knowledge on a lot of these folks. And, they could pick like I remember Lance Dingler had like some sort of special rifle, and you may remember what it is, but apparently it was really desirable. But there was people that were spotting that thing when he was out actually shooting. You know, they were just passing by, and I thought, wow, that's remarkable. That must be something really special. That, like, you know, like you every time like I don't know, like a Hellcat goes by, that looks different than a normal Charger, right? So you're like, oh, there's a Hellcat. So that must be what it's like for those folks.
Yep, it sure is. And yeah, well, I think the what was surprising to them is that he was actually taking that gun out and shooting it in a match, and they were like, oh, you know, like a lot of those guys are, they'll get a Norinco and not want to fire it, and you know, I'm not that type of guy. You know, everything's a shooter to me. So, and so that's why it stood out to them, that crowd. And I forgot exactly what model it was, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, I mean, and that's the thing, and that's the beauty of it. They have such passion in it, and that's what's kind of cool about it. You know, they really pour themselves into the community, and then just to give them, I mean, shit, it was like, I don't want to say it was like Woodstock for AKs, but essentially it was. I mean, people were camping out there. They had a bonfire, DJ. I mean, it was a hell of a time.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. And so, I mean, if we can get that back into 3-gun, that'd be cool. But, you know, let's just start getting patches back on the ground, right?
So if they get Woodstock for AKs, then we get Coachella, right?
I think that would be it. Yeah, I heard. Yeah, let's keep the weird stuff on the AK side.
Hey, Woodstock's the good stuff, man. Coachella's like where they have all the influencers in front of the fake corporate take a selfie here spots. We should do that's us.
Yeah. So all right, sorry, I wasn't hip to that.
Oh, really?
Shit, I'm an old man,
dude. All right, I'll send you my Instagram report of Coachella when we're done here.
Fantastic.
Well, Lan, so I wish you guys the best of success in growing that match and growing all the other things you're doing in the AK realm. It's cool to see you guys at the forefront. Some you know, people that I've known for years, and seeing you guys succeed. So congratulations on that, and you know, it's all due to hard work. So good for you, man.
I appreciate that, Dave. Yeah, no, we've had incredible support in the industry and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's, you know, you never get to where you are by yourself. So it's just due to a great network of people too. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, no problem, man. Well, okay. So let's change the subject here, and let's talk about our main topic here. And I want to tell you how I thought of this. So this will show you like a little peek into my mind, and maybe you can tell me, like, based on your thinking, Dave, you've got lead exposure, but I was at a match recently, and one of my friends had brought some snacks, and I was like, oh, this is really nice. And one of the snacks I noticed was a large jug of trail mix. And I thought to myself, like, that's going to get shared. And sure enough, it definitely was shared. It was community property, which is no big deal. I'm all about sharing. But then I think of like all the resetting and mag stuffing and stuff like that goes into it, and handling your firearms and stuff. And then Nobody's washing their hands before they go and reach in for the trail mix, and then you're eating straight off your hand. I'm like, this probably doesn't seem like a good idea for lead exposure. And then I was like, oh, I got to talk to Lan about lead exposure. And that's where we're at.
Yep. Well, and it also was the jug. Were the hands dipped into the jug, or was the
yes?
Okay, well then, yeah, y'all are screwed.
Oh, for sure. So yeah, it's one of those like giant things you get at like Target or Walmart or whatever, like the big 2-pounders of trail mix or whatever.
Yeah, but if you pour it into your hand, at least you're only, I guess, exposing yourself to your own blood, but instead of dipping it and collecting it up there. But yeah, I got you.
But that first person to put their hand in there, right, just screws it for everybody else.
That's correct. Yeah. Depending on, it's a lot of variables. Like, did he wear gloves and stuff like that? But yeah, for the sake of the argument, I'm sure that nobody had gloves on and everybody was dipping their paws into there. So, yeah, that's exactly, how it gets done. And I hate to say spread, but I mean, essentially you've got heavy metal particles on your hand. And they do get spread easily.
Yeah. So, So the reason I have you on the show is you had like some actual data. You went to a doctor and you have a personal story based on this. So can you give us the background and, kind of fill the audience in on where this is all come from?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I didn't really, so when we started first shooting competitively, we were shooting basically every match that we could get into, and that was inclusive of indoor matches, outdoor matches, hole in the wall ranges and stuff like that. And so, a lot of the matches didn't have the best ventilation there. Excuse me. And then shortly after that, I actually had a job at a company called Capital Cartridge, and it was a brass sorting. We did a bunch of different things. We did scrapping, brass sorting. We resold the brass to manufacturers and stuff like that. So part of that employment included a lead test, so I had to get an initial baseline test and then follow-up tests monthly. And so after that initial test, it was my exposure level was about 25 parts per million, which is very high. I mean, I think 8 is considered high. 45 is when you have to start chelation therapy. And so I was right about the bad to very bad level, I guess you would say. And so, they put me on a program and to avoid chelation. But, essentially it was better hygiene, better paying attention to your clothing and I guess cross-contamination, if you will. And obviously washing the hands and using gloves and just all the things you don't think about until, unfortunately it could be too late. And then lead's one of those things where it doesn't ever get fully out of your system and you can continue to build off of it or build onto it to where it could be a big situation there for you. So,
I got to say that's some crap about that it doesn't actually go away. Like you can't just like get better and be like, okay, now I'm going to go shooting again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, once you kind of know about it, it's up to you. Obviously you have choices to make all throughout your life, but just, it's very simple to do. And you just got to be mindful of it. So, basically I wash my hands after going to the range, wash hands, face, take a shower typically after any kind of range session. You have to watch out for your shoes are a big thing that people don't think about. So if you go to indoor ranges specifically, think about all the lead dust that accumulates on the ground. So if you walk around there and then you go inside, walk around your carpet, roll around with your dog later, all that kind of stuff can be hazardous and be problematic. So, my eyes weren't open to that until after I had the doctor visit. And so after, taking care of myself after range sessions and really I actually avoided going to places that had poor ventilation and things like that. And I actually stopped shooting indoors altogether for about 2 years. I was able to actually decrease my level slightly. But still, I'm under 20, but I don't think I'll get, back to the single digits.
Huh. Now, do you still go take tests on the regular, or what's your protocol now?
Yeah, basically every quarter I do. It's always good to have a baseline and know where you are and if what you're doing is making a difference. And so,
what kind of test is it?
It's just a regular blood test. It's
okay.
a blood, and so you just have to ask for it. So, whenever you get a blood test, you just ask them to run a heavy metal and lead test.
Got it. Now, if you're, so the parts per million, I think you said you were 24, 25. Is that what you were?
Yep.
Yeah. So at that point, like I always wonder, like, what's the conversation like? Is it like, you might want to look into that, and then dude's out the door, or
no? Is it
a serious talk?
It's very serious talk, and so basically, I mean, you don't want to get to the 35s. You definitely don't want to get to the 45s because, I mean, it's chelation therapy is not the greatest therapy. I don't think it's it's just medication you can take and stuff like that, and it's a different bunch of different supplements and things like that you can take. But excuse me. But essentially, you want to avoid having to get it and go through that process, and then you want to avoid the prolonged lead exposure altogether because, I mean, it can affect memory, it can affect a lot of different things in you, and then obviously lead to death. And like I said, if it's something that you can never get rid of fully and it can only build on itself, you're just kind of gambling there. So,
yeah, I really worry about those like long-term exposures that affect cognitive function. Like those freak me out because like those are things that can happen and you don't even know about them. And then because the place you do know about them, your brain is affected, like you're basically a host. Like that just freaks me out. I watched too many movies or something.
No, it's I think it's good practice to want to avoid those types of things.
Yeah. The other one I heard about years ago, and this is when I was working at Lockheed Martin, was aluminum. Are you aware of the effects of like aluminum?
Yeah. Isn't it? Well, I don't know.
Alzheimer's.
I've heard. Exactly. I heard it called Alzheimer's. I didn't know if that was a direct correlation or proven yet.
Yeah, apparently that's a legitimate thing. I guess it's like a lot more difficult to get that result from aluminum than it is like to get the lead poisoning from lead exposure. And it's mostly like aerosol based. But when you think about like machining and chips and stuff like that, it's like, I've been in a lot of shops.
Grinding on aluminum. Oh, man. So you've put me in a situation where I'm about to WebMD everything.
Yeah, for sure. Just going to live in that respirator, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a pain in the ass to put it on, but every time I test fire and stuff like that, I wear it, and in it, if I have to go back into the test fire facility and I don't have it on, you can definitely smell it. So.
All right. Yeah.
Yep.
So let's talk about that real quick. So for folks that haven't heard your voice on the podcast before, if they're new or something like that, there's several episodes that you've been on, but you are one of the proprietors of Dissonant Arms, and you guys make some of the finest race shotguns for 3-gun in the open division. And of course, I know this because I follow you on Instagram. You test fire each one of them, and so
that's right.
That requires some logistics when you have a history of lead exposure and you want to maintain your health for the long term. So, what kind of steps do you guys take when you do test fire?
So we test fire our test fire drum essentially, because if you've seen my video, all it is a drum, 55-gallon drum with rubber mulch in it, and so we test fire under there, but it's in the shop warehouse area, and it does have top ventilation. And then also, I wear a respirator, and after a heavy test fire day, obviously I take care of my personal hygiene, take a shower, don't bring take your shoes off before you go inside and all that good stuff. Because that's another thing that people don't think about. I mean, even if you shoot and then you go and lay down in your bed, now it's in your hair and stuff like that too. So you're just rolling around in it at that point. And so I don't take it lightly at all. I know some people, they say, that's the best job in the world, and they comment on those videos, but it's, every time you're basically I don't want to say you're putting your life out there, but you're taking a risk, if you will. So, and the only thing you can do to mitigate that risk is, take the steps that best for, and you've been advised to by like doctors and people like that. So, the best thing is just wash your hands, wash your face, and the respirator is very important as well in ventilation. So we try to keep that ventilation area or that area ventilated, and then after test fires, we basically open up the doors and have it blown out.
Oh, that's very smart. So what kind of apparel are you wearing, like PPE? So I know you've got iPro, and then you have a respirator on. Anything else?
No, I don't wear actually any overgarments or anything like that. I just basically just remove those before, I get too far into the house, if you will. There's a mud room, if you will.
Got it. In the lead room.
Yep. So you're able. I'm able to basically disrobe there and then go into the house there.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, you definitely want to take care of that. I mean, you can wear. There are overgarments you can get, like the I don't want to say that, but paint suits essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that that's necessary at this point in time.
Like some Breaking Bad cosplay kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's probably freak out the neighbors a little bit.
What are they cooking back there?
Well, and then our actual building has gotten a lot more full, and so test fires are a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I have to yell out going hot because the neighbors get freaked out.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, the new neighbors, they are I guess they rent out those bouncy houses.
Oh.
Yeah. And so they came over and they thought something bad happened the first time we test fired. So when they were there.
Oh, well, that's thoughtful of them at least to come check on you.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, so no, we have a ventilation area right there. So we have a fan and something to draw essentially, as much of the particulates out of the air as possible. So
gotcha.
Precautions as well. But
well,
yeah, man.
I want to ask you about like mitigation on the range, like steps that you take. Like maybe you could walk us through like a day on the range. But I want to tell you something. You were talking about shoes recently, and have you ever seen basketball players when they get like too much dust on their shoes? This is usually, this isn't like a college or professional thing, right? Because they have dudes that like wipe down the court and stuff. But like in high schools, and you always see basketball players like licking their hands and wiping their shoes because they got dust on their shoes and they slip. I remember my brother used to do that. He was captain of the basketball team. I went to a lot of his games, and like I always saw guys doing like a ton of that. I saw a guy doing that at an indoor range one time at an indoor match, and I picked up my shoe and I looked at it, and like you could see just a gray coating on there, and you could actually see on the ground like decades of dust and shit falling from the ceiling. And this is actually a place in Kansas City. I went to an indoor match with Dylan Easley one time, and they did not have what I would call like adequate ventilation. So I don't know if I'd ever go back there again. But if you played basketball and now you shoot indoors, don't do that. That is really bad.
Oh, wow. Is that guy still with us?
I don't know. I don't know who that guy was, but definitely saw a dude do it.
Yeah, I bet it was sweet for him. A little bit maybe.
Like it tasted sweet. It was like Chris Farley eating paint chips and was it Tommy Boy?
Couldn't imagine doing that. But that's really scary because like whenever I was at Capital Cartridge and we were sorting out range brass, like the residue that would come out in the powder was lead and gunpowder.
Mm-hmm.
And very flammable. Oh, and paper shreds of paper from Targets and shit like that. So it was like super flammable material, but I couldn't imagine licking my hands and. Okay, never mind. I want to get off that side.
Seems like a bad idea, right?
Ouch.
Well, for the person listening that just got into 3-gun and is going to absolutely every match, just like you used to, what kind of advice can you give them? Like practical measures to take on a weekly basis when they go to the range? So
reset, that's part of shooting, right? And that's part of the competition side. So obviously when you reset, it's use gloves at all times, especially for steel, obviously.
You have any kind of glove you prefer or anything?
I mean, people use garden gloves and stuff like that. I like those gloves that have kind of like a rubber or those tacky palms on them. I have a set of Milwaukee gloves that I use. To me, they actually provide a level of protection other than just those cloth or gardening gloves and or those, leather gardening gloves, if you will. And then also after you reset and use those gloves, you can put them in a Ziploc bag or keep them separate. Because if you just throw them into your range bag, then, you can throw other shit in there on top of them and not even think about it. So, or even I've seen some people use like nitrile gloves. So black or blue medical gloves, they're disposable essentially each stage. You don't have to worry about cross-contamination. So yeah, gloves are very important. Resets also very important, but using gloves to do that. Also, before you eat, there's those D-lead wipes. Even if you're using any kind of wipe will help, but the D-lead wipes specifically formulated to remove heavy metals and lead from your hand. But even like baby wipes or those soft wipes or whatever those, you have around, anything helps. Obviously, if you can wash your hand, do that. And then I like to carry some of that D-lead soap around with us too. And other than that, I mean, after you're done at the range, when you go home, just like I said, be mindful of coming inside with your range clothes and or wear you disrobe and stuff like that. And, make sure you wash up really well, hands, face. I like to wash up to my forearms, up to my elbows, just like kind of like a doctor does. Because, I mean, let's face it, that shit gets everywhere.
Yeah.
And then, like, once you get in at your house, shower after a range session. I mean, it's one of those things. You shouldn't need to be told that, but, sometimes things get by, I guess you would say. But yeah, man, that's one of the things, like, it gets in your hair, and when you sleep on a pillow, your face is going straight where your hair was.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of shit you don't think about. And it's, almost paranoid to a point, but I would rather be paranoid than have the full effects of lead exposure.
Yeah. For me, I can kind of err on the side of I guess like boastful uncautiousness, when it comes to like a lot of things. Like people freak out about like touching doorknobs at Target or something like that. And like they're going to get the flu. This is even before COVID. So like they're going to get the flu or something. That always freaks people out. That never really bothered me, but the lead thing does. And it's specifically because of the cognitive decline.
Exactly. But I mean, it's essentially the same type of precautions. Just wash your hands and don't drink after people or eat after people that, like, like you described. I mean, if you see somebody sticking their dirty ass hands into something, a trail mix, or sharing it, then, graciously decline.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. Then, you can advise them not to do it, but, you have to be your own advocate and worry about your own shit. So, Yeah. And a lot of people don't, they don't even think about it. So,
Yep. Yeah. So, when you talk about washing your hands, you mentioned a couple different wipe options. Do you use, you said the D-lead soap works. Is there a specific type of soap? If the D-lead is not available, or do you just go Dawn? Do you go bar soap? Like, what's the plan there?
I mean, if I don't have D-lead and say, I'm at my house or whatever, then I have, it's Fast Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of like a pumice based, or a hand wash that has pumice in it. And I'm not saying that takes everything off, but it just helps kind of break some of that stuff off. So, I mean, I just wash multiple times with like Dawn, or, like a Cherry Bomb or Fast Orange or something like that. That typically would help out too. But just washing in general helps out.
Mm-hmm.
If you have water, I mean, use that. I mean, that's the least helpful, but it's more helpful than not doing anything at all.
Yeah, it's more helpful than just wiping them on your jeans.
Just kind of brushing them off and saying, "Yeah, I'm good to go.
Yeah, we're fine now."
Yep. So, I mean, it's things that you don't think you should tell people, but then again, whenever you're out there, you're shooting and you're hungry and you don't even think about it. Somebody has some beef jerky or your trail mix or whatever. There you go. That's when you get it.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of times, a lot of people wear that as like a badge of pride too. Like I remember when I was working at speed shops, guys would eat sandwiches with their hands full of like oil and coolant and shit. And just there's no prize for that. Gotta wash your hands. What was that?
I said there's a prize for everything, but some prizes you don't want.
Yeah, you don't want this one in the case of lead for sure.
So
now, Lan, I've read that cold water is the best because it doesn't open your pores. Do you have any sort of direction or opinion on that?
No, that is what I was. And I should have mentioned that earlier, but that is something that was recommended whenever I do wash my hands. It is use cold water.
Always cold water. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So cold water, soap, D-lead if you got it. That D-lead surprisingly is available a lot of places too. You can get it on Amazon, stuff like that. So no excuse not to have some. It's not like it's super expensive. It's just like the price of regular soap.
Yeah. I mean, even those, baby wipes, something to just take that grime and take that layer off of there. And it's all about the amount of exposure, right? And so something's better than nothing is what I would say. But obviously, if you can get the correct products, then I would go that way.
Yeah. So there's got to be like a hierarchy, right? Like the best thing is is not being exposed at all. Second best would be D-lead with cold water, and third would be soap and cold water, and then just cold water, and then the wipes, and then your jeans.
That's right.
Something like that.
Yeah, jeans would definitely be last on my list. I mean, what's crazy is, just looking at it quickly, there's lead check and lead test that you can get from 3M, and then there's whole body washing shampoos of D-lead too. So, it's a pretty serious thing, and there's a lot of products out there that we can use to our advantage. You know what I'm saying? So, so it's something it's a topic that a lot of people overlook, but I'm glad you're actually covering it and bringing it up.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I feel like it does actually need to be covered, and it does seem like one of those rules that everybody knows, one of those things. But whenever you assume like, oh, everybody knows that, there's like half the people that don't know that, and they're new. They got here just after you learned it. So that's kind of what we're doing here, is just reaching back and telling the new people like, hey, this is something that we've learned over the years and you should pay attention.
Yeah. I mean, even old people or old shooters or established shooters. I mean, some people, when they reload, they don't worry about wearing gloves or any kind of shit like that. And then they'll reload and smoking a stogie or reload and drinking and whatever. And you're touching bullets and projectiles, and they've got lead on them too.
Yeah, that's another thing that I guess we haven't touched on yet because neither of us are smokers, is that is a big ingestion point for shooters, is getting lead on your hands and then taking it in through a cigarette, because you're smoking and you're touching the cigarette like you're touching the sidewall of the paper or whatever. And right. People will inhale it. Like, that's a very big path. So that's man, I don't see nearly as many smokers on the range as I used to. But gosh, if you smoke at all, like, you really got to pay attention to that, because now it's just going straight into your lungs.
Yep.
Doesn't even have to go through your skin.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of things we do on the range, and that we don't think about, or even at home for like reloading. So
yeah,
just anytime you're messing with. I guess shooting stuff. I mean, even the gear that you have from the range when you come home, all that shit has it on there.
Yeah, so, I'm actually
write everything down. Then
it's funny that you mentioned that, because like I'm sitting in my office space, my desk, right, where I do my work every day and stuff, and I'm looking around and there's like half full magazines. I've got 3 pistols on the table, and then there's my 3-gun bag sitting on the corner over there. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, holy shit, like, I really need to do some cleaning down here, because I can't tell you like what I've touched after I moved that pistol and what I've touched after I brought that bag in the house. Like, that's a big thing.
Hey man, will you video this stage for me?
Yeah.
Fingers all phone, and then you put your phone to your face.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yep. So it's like, now that we get down this rabbit hole, it gets creepy.
So I got to wash all my cameras, all my tripods. I got to wash my podcast gear. Dude.
Yes, sir. So the lead wipes, man.
All right. Well, I'm going to go buy some D-lead wipes. Link in the description below.
There you go. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, so until you start thinking about it and really start diving into it, it's like, and I used the word paranoid earlier, because it's kind of, you have to kind of get that way, because it's invisible. So you mentioned COVID earlier, and it's kind of funny thing, but it's just like a virus or any other kind of thing you want to avoid. Just wash your hands and take those kind of precautions. You'll be okay.
Yeah. And again, I know I mentioned it before, but the thing that freaks me out about lead exposure versus like COVID or the flu or a cough or something like that is that it doesn't go away, that you just constantly build it up. It never goes back. Okay. Now you don't have the flu anymore. You don't have lead exposure anymore. Just builds up over your lifetime. Kind of crazy, kind of scary. Well, so I want to ask about laundry. You mentioned laundry. So do you, when you come home, you got your work clothes on, you disrobe in the mudroom, do you then wash your clothes with the normal clothes? Like, do you just mix them in, or do you have to wash those separate? Is there a special soap you use?
D-lead laundry detergent, and you just keep that separate. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a whole industry, but I mean, it's an industry that it's important. So I would use it, because they have abrasive hands. I mean, they have everything. Oh, look, I'm even seeing, for those people out there that like the almond shampoo, they got that for you too.
D-lead has almond shampoo.
I'm looking right at it. There's surface cleaner concentrates. There's hand soaps. There's liquid skin cleaning hand soap, shampoo. Yeah, they got all sorts of stuff. And then they have a big old bucket of disposable wipes. And those are the ones we use. So, yeah, they got it all, man.
Dude, just when you thought that I couldn't get like any more of a bachelor pad at my house, you're going to come over and I've got a 5-gallon pail of D-lead hand soap sitting in the bathroom.
Hey, man,
I'll put
I
a
would say for looking out for me.
yeah. I'll put a doily and a decorative candle on top though, so it looks nice.
There you go.
There you go. A little cinnamon.
But yeah, I mean, so you can dive as deep as you want down that rabbit hole, or just take as little precaution as you want. But like I said, or like you said, it's something that doesn't go away. So I don't think it's anything to be toyed with.
So once you got this protocol years ago, like, hey, they were like, hey, you got to clean up your act. You stop shooting indoor matches. Washing your hands, sequestering your clothes, doing other different things. Have you changed it up over the years, and like, you're doing more or you're doing less, or like, what's the situation?
I mean, sometimes you'll catch yourself slipping a little bit here and there. And then you just have to, kind of remind yourself that it's something that needs to be done. I mean, just like a lot of other things that you don't think about for safety or everyday kind of safety, it's just like, you have to kind of remind yourself of. So, sometimes I'll grab something to grind on it or something in the shop, and I won't have glasses on. So I'll have to remind myself to put glasses on and stuff like that. So you have to be diligent about it. It's not like there's going to be somebody out there to remind you every time. Sometimes there is, and there are those people, but most of the time it's just you got to remember it for yourself.
Yeah.
So unless you got a good buddy.
Yeah. Good buddy that brings the D-lead wipes and the, let's see, test kit for metallurgical lead dust.
Yeah, you saw that too?
Yeah. Man, there's all kind. It's crazy, like how much stuff there is out there. But I guess it is an industrial issue, right? So there's like they sell that D-lead in 55-gallon drums.
That's right.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
So what's the deal, Lan? Are we doing the fist bump now? Is that the move since we're all touching steel out there?
No, I mean I'll shake your hand and then I'll just use a D-lead wipe.
Pro tip.
Yep, just like anything else. I mean, just take the right precautions and take care of yourself, and I think you'll be fine. And if you just could remind other people, especially about the lead, I mean, like you said, there's new people don't know about it, and old people don't remember it. So,
yeah,
it's kind of one of those things. And you'll see, I think like USPSA Nationals or at some of their bigger matches, they'll have like D-lead wipes at the safe areas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so. I think that Hoppy Cleaner, and I think I saw a D-lead canister there. I know somebody just left it there, and I thought that it was a service being provided. But I thought it was kind of cool. I used them when I was there. So, but they're not expensive, and it's just one of those things that you should keep in your kit.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna get one of those small little carry along hand soap thingies and some lead wipes. Get those for the range, and then I guess I'll start separating my clothes once I get back from the range. I won't be bringing range bags in the house. We'll leave those in the garage. Wash my hands before and after the bathroom, before and after eating. What else can I do? Oh, gloves. Gloves when I pick up steel.
Yep. And I mean, other than wearing a respirator everywhere, that's basically it. Shooting outdoors, your exposure is obviously a little bit less, but there's still that. Basically, whenever you're firing the round, I mean, you have the lead particulates right there at the ignition point. So,
yep,
it's in the air.
Yeah, that's for people that haven't noticed. Jerry Mitchell, like in a lot of his videos, has a huge fan that he shoots with, and part of that's lead mitigation. Granted, it's hot as hell in Louisiana, but part of that's lead mitigation. That moves that cloud away from you.
That's right. I mean, so yeah, you'll hear people, after somebody shoots, they're like, "Oh, I love that smell." Well, Don't catch too much of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I used to shoot club matches with a guy that shot uncoated lead bullets. And people would always ask him, like, oh, what kind of powder are you using that thing? And like, no one ever put two and two together. Like, that's just the lead getting chewed off and scraped down the barrel and this big cloud coming out.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the powder. That's just a lead cloud. That guy's got a lead cloud surrounding him like Pigpen.
Yes, unfortunately.
I know.
Yep. And we stand there and we go, oh, it smells great.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's so silly. That's another old guy thing.
I'm not gonna avoid it though. I mean, so it's one of the I guess hazards, or one of those things that it's part of something we love doing. So you just have to take the correct precautions, right?
Yeah, and I guess if you shoot in indoors on a regular basis in a facility that was built in the year starting with a 19, you might want to look around and maybe ask them about their ventilation or what their lead mitigation is, or, look around and see if you notice those de-lead wipes or tape strips on the ground, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, most modern gun ranges have very good ventilation systems. The one that, the particular indoor range I was referring to, they like had holes in the ceiling from people, firing through that. So obviously you're not going to have, the best vacuum and ventilation system there. So yeah, that was kind of a sketchy place. But again, it was like one of the places where we were trying to get as much trigger time as possible.
For sure.
But yeah, most of the modern ranges, you're good to go. But again, just take the right precautions when you leave. Just wash up and then leave all your stuff outside in the gear room, if you will, before you go indoors.
I got to say, I really like the range that Vortex put together. Have you been up there yet?
I have not. No. We're planning on visiting them, but I've heard it's fantastic. It's a world-class range.
Dude, it is fantastic. The one range that I shot on, it was like you're standing on the green area of like a football field inside a stadium, so it's like wider than 50 yards, longer than 100 yards kind of thing. But and of course you can't reach the ceiling with your hand, just trying to describe it roughly. But that whole room, the volume of air in there, like apparently every 90 seconds or something like that, or every 2 minutes or whatever it is completely recycled. Like it's a legit, air handling system in that place. And then one of my favorite things is that they have like these big tape pads by the doors. So when you walk out, it reminds me of being in a clean room at Lockheed Martin. When you walk out, you leave footprints on there, but it's footprints of all the dust and lead and the shit that was on the ground inside the range. So yeah, it's really cool. You don't carry that with you. And then before you hit the door, there's a whole room dedicated to washing. So it's pretty legit over there.
Sounds like they care about their employees.
Yeah. Yeah. And their customers. I would say so. It's interesting how much, that type of technology has improved over the years. When you look at like an old school range where like, maybe we'll open the back door today. And then, something like that, where they're replacing the entire volume of air in the room every few minutes.
Oh yeah. That's crazy. So that range, it's a public range as well.
I'm not sure on that. I was a guest at the time. So,
because I know they have matches there, don't they?
They do. When I was there, I was the only person that didn't work at Vortex. I don't know if that's a regular thing or not, because I don't live in Wisconsin, so I haven't researched it.
Sure.
But I will say that I've shot a match there, and I shot some other stuff there, and both times I was a guest, so I'm not sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
But they do have matches.
That's awesome. Well, you're a special guy, so you're one of the.
I just got to tag along. It's one of those things like, well, I'm already headed to this match. I guess I'll bring Dave with me.
That's awesome. Well, that's a cool. It's good to have friends, right?
Right? Yeah, it was fun. It's good. I'd love to shoot it again.
Oh yeah.
All right, Len. Well, is there anything else that we failed to talk about in the world of lead mitigation? So we know it's a bad thing. We know it affects your brain, your guts, your muscles. your bones.
Memory. Yep. Sticks to your bones.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, all those things are bad. And so, and that's what it does. And like we covered before, it doesn't simply just go away. The only thing that can possibly remove it is the chelation therapy. And most of those are kind of, those drugs are injected in you, and it's not a good process. So, there's other things like, I guess you can, the ingestion of iron or calcium, I believe, but one of those prevents the absorption of the other. So do your research before you start throwing shit at it. And then,
maybe talk to a doctor.
I haven't recently. I have to actually go back and do the test. I haven't done the test in it's been over a year now.
What I was saying was, would you recommend someone consult a doctor before just throwing iron or calcium at the problem?
Absolutely. Yeah. Don't just, don't WebMD and treat yourself. Go to a doctor and talk to them about it. Cause most of the time, they'll give you the best path for your exposure level and stuff like that. It's always good to know their baseline. Cause if you're at an eight parts per million or at a 40 parts per million, there's a different approach to each case, I guess you would say.
Good to know.
Yep. Yeah.
And if you're a young person in the sport, or you have a young person in the sport, it's probably a good idea to take a look at that. At least get a baseline.
And it affects kids because they're in the developmental stage. And so juniors especially, they want to take care of, that. It obviously affects older people as well and adults. But, yeah, if you're in your developmental stages, like we see a lot of junior shooters out there, those are the people that need to watch it the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, especially if they're in it for the long haul.
Yeah. Don't let the juniors lick the poppers.
No. So, yep. But yeah, just after talking about this right here, I can already pick out probably a half a dozen instances in the last two matches I've been to where I've either seen or been part of stuff that I wouldn't recommend. So if we all kind of keep after each other, I think we'll be better off as a community. And it's kind of like that buddy system, right?
Yeah.
So if you see somebody doing something that you wouldn't advise, then I just say something.
Yeah, and if you feel weird about that, don't, because you're helping someone. Feel free to tell me when I'm about to hurt my brain. That'd be nice. I would like that.
Yes, I would like my friends to do the same for me.
Len, I will do that for you, buddy.
Fantastic. So that's and that's the best thing right there. If we it's not a tough thing. It's not being you're not being a sissy by washing your hands before you eat.
Yeah. What do you wash your hands? You some kind of beta?
That's what I'm. It just that just kind of ties into the whole thing, like you said earlier in the shop and stuff.
Yeah.
What are you, some kind of bitch? You're going to wash your hands? Well,
yeah, exactly.
I want to be doing this, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So that's all it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if that guy's laughing at you now because you want to wash your hands, you can laugh at him in 20 years when he can't tie his shoes.
That's rough.
I know, that was mean. I kind of feel bad for saying that now.
But no, yeah. That's essentially it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, we're telling you now. It doesn't. We're helping future you be better.
That's exactly it. I like it.
Right on. Well, Lan, man, thanks for filling me in on all this stuff. There's a lot that I need to change. I know that, especially with how much my work life crosses over into the shooting life. I'm just looking at my desk and thinking like, wow, I need to watch everything down here. Because I know that I've got like GoPros sitting here that have been at the range with me. And then, like I said, tripods and computers and bags and all kinds of good stuff, man. This is it's a really important topic, and there's a lot of stuff that I need to improve on.
Yeah, I think, just everybody in general can take a note from this episode, if you will, and just do something. I mean, something's better than nothing. And then if you keep growing, like you said, taking the proper steps and establishing a protocol, if you will, then it's something that keeps you safe, and it's, it'll become second nature, if you will. Like, I mean, if you touch a bunch of stuff and you want to wash your hands before you ingest something, that's kind of simple things.
Yeah.
It's a social sport too. So we shake hands and, we pick stuff up and we play, mess around with other people's guns and try other things out. So it's just always a good idea to wash your hands before you put something in your mouth.
That's a good rule of thumb. Yeah.
Well,
Put that on a decorative pillow. As a reminder. Well, I really like that that idea of helping each other out and stuff, because this is like a I'm joking around a little bit, but it's definitely a serious topic. But one of the things that you just mentioned that kind of stuck with me is that it just becomes habit after a while. When you were talking about grinding on something for iPro, and looking for iPro, like me personally, I never fire up anything without iPro, eye protection, because that was, I don't know, I think it's because it was drilled into me like in shop class and stuff. And then in my first jobs out of school where I was working in shops and stuff, that, you always had to wear glasses, and then working at Lockheed for like 9 years or 8 years, whatever it was, like we had to go to PPE classes and shit like that. And I just like seeing things so much that I always put iPro on. So it really is, like you said, it's just going to be one of those things that is natural and that you just do automatically after a while.
That's right. There's some, a certain something about protecting things you can't replace.
Yeah, for sure.
Eyes, your life, stuff like that,
Yeah, eyes, your life, your brain.
It's a function, things like that.
There's only so many of those things.
No, like you said, I mean, we're joking around because it just, because we're buddies, but it is a very serious topic. So, no, I hope some of your listeners take something from the podcast here, and just kind of implement it in their routine. It doesn't have to be as serious what I described, but all of those steps stack up to be a pretty safe procedure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's the Asian in me that doesn't mind taking my shoes off before I come inside.
Well, there you go.
I do see a lot of people who don't like to do that, but like I said, it's one of those things. If not with every pair of shoes, at least with your rain shoes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've got a tray at the front of my door. It's supposed to catch the snow. That's what we do here in Wyoming. And so shoes come off as soon as I come in the house. I think for me though, I'm going to start, I know I have like match shoes, but I'm going to make those my rain shoes as well. So I'm not mixing back and forth. Especially if I go to like an indoor something or other. I'm going to make sure that I only use my my shooting shoes for that, and then I'm going to keep those bad boys outside.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Because, to be honest, I got a dog, and that guy seems to lick everything that's left on the floor,
Yep.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, I lay on the rug with the dog, so.
Yeah, exactly.
All over my, lead all over the floor, so. Yep. And it's, you just got to think about it kind of every day. Well, for what we do, we have to think about it every day. But for people that have normal jobs, just whenever you go to the range, just kind of keep it separated by gear, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and if you pull something out of the safe to, show a friend or loved one or something like that, just wash your hands afterwards and make sure they do as well.
Yep. That's exactly right.
There you go. Spread the clean hand cheer.
I like it.
Right on. Well, Lan, I'm going to ask you for a final thought in a second here, but first, what do you have going on the rest of the year? Any more matches or anything like that? Any travel? Where can we see you at?
So I think Fort Benning's going to be the last match for us this year. So yeah, we'll be at Fort Benning multi-gun match here in a couple of weeks, and after that, it's just going to be back in the shop and working on custom guns and shipping factory guns. We've had quite a bit of growth in the last 2 years, and it's kind of been a shift between custom guns and factory guns, but it's been an awesome ride here.
Nice. Well, when you talk about factory guns, what kind of factory guns are you guys working with these days?
So we've got a really close relationship with IWI, Lead Star Arms, and Kalashnikov USA. And so we sell a lot of their factory guns. And it was kind of a weird shift a couple of years ago. We were probably a year and a half ago, we were probably about 70% factory or stock guns versus our competition guns and builds. And then we've been able to kind of go back and forth, and it's almost equaled out right now. But it's been a crazy little shift for us as a small company, and so we've kind of had to pivot a couple of times. But now we're dealing with custom rifles as well as our shotguns, and we're doing PCCs now. So the growth is awesome. We've got 2 dedicated gunsmiths that it's kind of funny. They went to school in Colorado, and with the intent of coming back and working for us here in Houston. And so
that's way cool.
Yeah, it is. And one of the guys I actually met at a local match here, it's funny, he was shooting a X95. And so it was just when we started being a dealer for IWI. And so I thought it was cool, and I took a photo of it. And I asked him what his name was to tag him on Instagram, and it was the Pew Jew. And so I tagged him, and then now he works for us. He's our lead gunsmith. And so it's kind of a crazy course of events, I guess you would say.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, it's awesome. And I don't know. We're looking forward to moving to a bigger facility, and so that's kind of on the horizon now. So things are really going well.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. I'm so glad to get the chance to chat with you and to catch up here. Every time I do speak with you, it seems like things are moving fast, and always in a great direction for you guys. So congratulations, man.
I appreciate that, Dave. Yeah, it's been a hell of a ride so far, and like I said, we wouldn't be where we are without the support of a great group of friends, and some key industry partners. And man, it's living the dream. I mean, I really can say that. So I appreciate you covering it, I guess, along the way, and giving me a chance to speak to you multiple times and stuff like that. So, and contributing to our growth and stuff like that. So, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
Oh, dude, anytime. Always happy to have you guys on the show. I'm excited to cheer. You may not always be hearing me cheering, but I'm always cheering for you guys because it's really cool to see good people doing good things. So I'm really happy for you guys. So all the best luck in the future. But Lan, one final thought, one final piece of advice for people that are listening to the show right now. What's something that you can leave them with to change their day?
Wash your damn hands.
There you go. Excellent, poignant advice from our buddy Lan here. Lan Nguyen, everybody. Lan, thanks for being a part of the show, man. And for all you listening, wash your damn hands. Thanks for listening. We want to shoot with you for a number of years. So get your stuff together, get some soap, get some wipes. And if you're at Fort Benning, say hey to Lan.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me, bud.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for being here. Everybody, we'll see you on the range.